Hey guys, Nick from KN Tech, welcome back. Well, in this video, I'm going to be building myself a small rack-mounted server that's going to be running Proxmox. And on Proxmox, I'm going to be running a load of small computers, small virtual machines that's going to run a few of the services that I have running currently in my house on a Proxmox server, which I have running on an old laptop. Now, running Proxmox on an old laptop is a really good way to get started into virtualization, because if you've got a machine which you're upgrading anyway, then you have a laptop which you're not doing anything with. Sometimes you can get old laptops from family members when they upgrade. It's a great way to get started into the world of virtualization, because Proxmox can run on a machine that doesn't really have a huge amount of resources, and it can run pretty much okay if you're not doing anything too heavy. In actual fact, I've got Proxmox running on an old laptop. It's sat right over there in the corner. You can't quite see it. It's running on an old HP laptop, and that runs my Home Assistant, which basically runs all the automations that I have in the house. So on this build, I'm going to be using components that I've had in a box under my desk for about the last 9 months or so. The prices that I paid when I bought these are going to be way different to the prices that you're going to pay now. So if a lot of it seems like it's a little excessive, it certainly wasn't when I bought these parts. So what I'll do first is I'll go through the parts that I'm going to be using real quick, and I'll give you a little bit of an insight as to why I chose them and the parts that I'm using. So the first off I'm going to be using is this one, which is a Ryzen 9 7900 CPU. Now the reason I've gone for a Ryzen is because I want multiple cores and multiple threads, because I want to be running more than one virtual machine at the same time, and Ryzens are pretty good in terms of performance to power ratio. I also picked up a Crucial memory stick kit. Now this is DDR5 and it's 64 gigs, and like I said, I bought this 9 months ago, so I only paid just around 200 UK pounds for this, but I know that these are going for 5 times more than that at the moment. But the power supply that I'm using is overkill for the machine that I'm going to be building. It's an RM750X. Now the reason I got this power supply is because it actually has a zero fan mode, so that when it's not using too much power, the fan in the power supply actually turns itself off, which is going to be great for noise and also power consumption. Okay, the motherboard I'm going to be using is this. It's a B650M Pro RS from ASROCK. The reason I got this is because it's a micro ATX motherboard, which means it's going to fit nicely into the small case that I'm going to be using, because I ideally want to be rack mounting this. So I've got myself a little 2U rack mount case, which I'm going to be putting in my server rack, which is in one of the eaves of the room that I'm in right now. So I've got 2 hard drives. So I've got this, which again is another Crucial. It's a 500 gig SSD, which is going to be running the operating system. And I've got this, which is a 4 terabyte NVMe SSD. This is going to be running the drives of all of the machines that I'm going to be running on there. So all of the different virtual machines that are going to be running either Windows or Linux or containers, they're all going to be running on that 4 terabyte drive. So I've gone for a Noctua NHL9A low profile fan, because that means it's not going to be sticking out too much from the CPU, which means I'm still going to be able to get it into my case. And I've also gone for an additional 10 gig network card. Now I don't currently run 10 gig networking in my house at the moment, but if I do upgrade in the future, if I have a 10 gig card in here, if I want to then build another machine and have some kind of clustering done, I can have a 10 gig connection between this and the next machine that I build, if I build it in the future. So it's just a little bit of future proofing. And as for the case, like I said, I want to be rack mounting this. So I've got this. It's a small form factor 2U rack mountable case, which is going to allow me to put all the components inside. And once I've got it in there, I can then put it into my rack, which is in one of my eave spaces in this room that I built here. So as for a case, I'm going to be using this. This is a Codegen rack mount. It's a 2U400, so it's 400 millimeters deep, 40 centimeters deep, and it's 2U high, 2 units in a rack server mount high. So I'm using this because I want to rack mount everything. So this will take all the components that I've bought. I can then put it in my server rack, which is tucked away in one of the eaves in this room that I got up here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually build this machine, and I'm going to actually build everything outside of the case first, so I can boot it up and make sure everything works. I would always recommend doing that. That way it saves you all the time of stripping it out once you've already got it in your case and you turned it on and you found you missed something out. So before I can install the Noctua fan and cooler, I need to remove the stock cooling, the stock mount built into the motherboard already. Again, hang on to this, stick it in your motherboard box, because if you do ever upgrade or you want to sell it on or pass it over to some other people or make some money out of it, then you can put it back on once you remove your cooler. Okay, so I've got a power supply all plugged in. Just put in my little USB dongle for my keyboard and mouse in there. I have my HDMI cable plugged into this monitor. Now what often happens when you first boot an AMD CPU on a motherboard is you have a lot of memory training. So we're just going to let that cycle through. So you see the LEDs on there are going through the different statuses. This is telling us that it is actually still processing, it is still doing the memory training and getting ready for the CPU, etc. And as if like magic, we have the BIOS come up on our screen. This is what we wanted to see. This basically tells us that it's recognized the memory, it's recognized the CPU. We can go through and double check and make sure it's recognized the hard drives, etc. Now we can go ahead, build the actual machine and get the operating system installed, and then we can start working within Proxmox to actually start building our virtual machines. So I'm going to get cracked on. So it's just literally booted straight into my Ventoy. I use Ventoy because it allows me to have multiple ISOs on one thumb drive. So we're going to use Ventoy to install 8.3 Proxmox, 8.31, and then once that's installed we'll probably do an update from within it. So we're going to boot it in normal mode. Now it's installed, it's going to be rebooting, and it's going to reboot straight into Proxmox, and we'll know that because it'll give us the IP address that the Proxmox setup screen is available on once it's finished booting. Now at this point what I can do is I can shut this down. So here we go, you can see that is now up and running at this IP address. So what I'll do is I'll get the NVMe drive added into it now, I'll do another reboot, I'll put it all into the case, I'll reboot it again, put it in the rack, and then once I'm ready to configure it, I'll come back and I'll join you again. up and running. Just going to double check on my other computer to make sure that the web interface is accessible. Okay, so we can see that that's all back up, and now it's been put in back into the case. And if we open this up here, we've got our local drive with 400 gig and our data drive with our 4 terabytes ready for us to start installing. Well, that's going to kind of wrap it up for this one, guys. That's just building a Proxmox computer to go inside a little rack mounted case and get it all up and running with the operating system. So that's going to be it for this video. I will do a follow-up where I connect this instance to my backup server, my Proxmox backup, and then I'll be restoring back onto this new machine some of the instances that I'm running on my current version of Proxmox, which is on the old laptop in the corner. So yeah, that wraps it up for this one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification down below to be notified when I put more videos up. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one.